Alright, so if you look at the chakra model and the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can see that they're relatable. Now, I like all this stuff because I like to categorize life and put it into steps and stages, kind of like a game. And if you're only level 1 to 10 in a game, you really can't do much. But once you start getting past maybe level 20 or 30, you do a little more and a little more and a little more. Down the bottom here, I'll put a picture on the screen, we have physiological needs, which is basically physical animalistic needs, which here it says breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, and excretion. Homeostasis is like pH balance of the body. It's if you kind of feel too high or too low, that's out of homeostasis. The rest are self-explanatory. Now I see that kind of relating to the root chakra level. If you're down in the root chakra of life, you are probably living maybe homeless, maybe on welfare, or maybe you don't have welfare, maybe you do, maybe you don't really make any money at all. It's a very difficult place. It's really when you live in like ghettos or the hood or, the poor neighborhoods and all this kind of like really trashy areas, or you live in a tent in the woods. It's not a great place, and people who live at this area have a very damaged root chakra, or they're hyper focused here. Now the way that I see it is that money is the ultimate physical resource, we could say. Power is the ultimate, maybe, force, or force itself, which is power and energy, is the ultimate energy. But physically, everything converts down into money. So depending on how much money you have and how well you are at making it and using it, will be how much security and safety you have. The bottom level here is all about security and safety, absolute security and safety. Though the next level actually says safety, and this one says security of body, of employment, of resources, of morality, of the family, of health, of property. So this is more, I would say this is more protection than safety, but we can do that. The first one is literally just satiating the absolute basic needs of the animal. Now this, nicely put, it's like similar to the chakra model. You can think this relates more to, still this kind of relates to the lower root chakra. To some extent it relates to the sacral. The sacral is more pleasure, because what I see is that once you begin to gain security, once you begin to make money, is that you start to spend a lot of it on pleasure. You see this a lot when people, if you have a drug addiction and you make a lot of money, you spend a lot of money on drugs. It could be alcohol, it could be cigarettes, it could be marijuana, etc., etc. It could even be a gambling addiction. It could be a video game addiction. Video games are very expensive nowadays. It could be anything. Essentially, it's whatever loose holes you have. Once you start to fill the water, imagine like a plastic bag. Plastic bags always have little holes in them sometimes. Very annoying. You fill it full of water and then the water starts to pass out. But this one's this, at least to the Maslow's hierarchy, so basically says safety of these things. So after you essentially are out of fight or flight, you start to want to secure yourself, your resources, your employment, your family, your health, etc., etc., your property. That's an interesting thing. And then afterwards, there's love and belonging, which is friendship, family, and sexual intimacy. So for this one, the third one is after you essentially have secured yourself and satisfied your body by your eating, etc., you start to look for friends and family. You want to get a marriage partner. You want to I guess, start to work more in the community. Now, for the third one of the chakra model, for the solar plexus chakra, after, as I said, the second one would be pleasures, the third one is ego. Now, you'll notice this a lot in lower level music, where it talks a lot about, oh, I've got a fast, rich, fast, expensive car, and I've got a Rolex, and I've got all this stuff. I'm this badass who's got all this stuff. I'm this really cool person, and that's a lot about the ego, which is the solar plexus, the stomach, that relates to the Martian center, or the center of Mars, I should say. Which this is satisfaction of the ego. Now, there's also another developmental model, which, let me see if I can quickly find it. I think it's called the 8th circuit developmental model. Alright, so here we are. So Timothy Leary had the hypothesis of the 8th circuit model of consciousness, later expanded on by Robert Anton Wilson. This is the Wikipedia. Now, Robert Anton Wilson wrote the book, which I'm going to quickly... Prometheus Rising, is the book that I was looking for. So he has this 8th circuit model, the vegetative invertebrate circuit, the oral biosurvival circuit. So this one's all about the sphincters, which is the anus, the mouth, etc., etc., which is all about survival and comfort and physical safety, etc. When you're young, you want to suck on your mum's boobs. When you're old, you want to suck on your wife's boobs. It is the cycle of life, and this is the first circuit. And the second circuit, the emotional locomotive circuit, the anal territorial circuit. Interesting. This is Leary and Wilson had different names for them. Leary's is a little more spiritual and well, not spiritual, a little more technical. Wilson's is a little more literal. Okay, interesting. The second circuit is relating to domination, submission, territorial. Yeah, so sex in its raw form, in a very, not in like a loving form, but sex in a very lustful, very kind of dark form is very much about domination. It's about like, I rape you, you rape me, or I dominate you, you dominate me. Very traumatic, but of course a higher form of sex is that of love and sharing of intimacy, and the middle form would just be kind of satisfying yourself. But so this is kind of like dominance of social, it's not even social groups, it's more just dominant, like, yeah, kind of gaining dominance. The circuit is activated by depressant drugs such as alcohol, barbiturates, and benzodiazepines. Very interesting. So this, I would see, is the sacral chakra. Alcohol, definitely, if you drink alcohol, it relaxes the bladder. Third is the laryngeal manual symbolic circuit, which Leary called and Wilson called the semantic time binding circuit. Apparently it's related to language, handling of the environment, invention, calculation, prediction, building up a mental map of the universe, physical dexterity. Very interesting. So this is a bit more mercurial, but I still can see it relating to the solar plexus. And this is activated by stimulant drugs, amphetamine, cocaine, caffeine. If anyone's been a stimulant fiend, yes, you kind of know what it's like. It's just, you just want to work, you just want to do that. Solar plexus chakra is a very work oriented, it's very hustle and grind kind of chakra. So going back to what I was talking about, this one, solar plexus, is a lot about ego, a lot about working. It's kind of like once you get bored of drugs and pleasure and all that stuff, you want to kind of present yourself out in the world. And this develops around the ages of, around the teenage ages. The first one is more like age 0 to about 2. Second one's more like 2 to 7-ish. And this one, third one, I would say maybe about 8 to... it could be 14, it could be 18, 16, or maybe around, we'll just say 8 to 8, 16, around that. So if you had any traumatic childhood experiences in high school, where your ego was kind of you, the cool you know, you weren't able to become the cool you weren't able to show yourself as a shining star, then this circuit will be traumatized for until you fix it. Which takes a little while. Same way with the other ones as well, actually. So number 4, and you have number 4. Number 4 in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is esteem, self-esteem, confidence, achievements, respect of others, respect by others. So I'll go through the Maslow's hierarchy, then I'll go through the circuits, and then I'll go through the chakras, just so I don't confuse anyone, because already I've gone through a lot of things. Okay, interesting. So that was before was love and belong, family, all that. So I guess this is when you start to branch out to the community a little more. You start to become a bit more of a professional. Maybe you start to write books and teach and do other things. I don't know. You want to earn the respect of the world. You want to move up the hierarchy in the you become a manager, or you become higher than a manager, whatever that is. And last one is self-actualization. This is more spiritual, more head level stuff. Morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, acceptance of facts. So if you look at parts of the internet which very overworld, very above world, they're very focused on these higher things. Essentially the procuring of others' love and respect, and also the kind of the search for mental virtues. So sometimes it can be corrupted. If the bottom level is corrupted, then the top level is also corrupted. So some people focus on lower stuff even when they have satisfied that. Some people focus on higher stuff even if the lower stuff isn't satisfied, if you get what I mean. So yeah, it's kind of like a drug addict will forego food and sleep and other things to get their drug. Interesting thing. Anyway, next is the circuits again. So circuit number 4 is Leary called it the socio-sexual domestication circuit. Wilson called it the socio-sexual circuit. It's imprinted by the first orgasm or mating experience. It's concerned with sexual pleasure instead of reproduction. Moral, immoral, so it's about reproduction, about having children. It's a very cultural circle by the looks of it, so it's about cultural values and operating in a social tribe or in the community. So I guess this would activate once you have joined a community. So number 3 was kind of gaining a basic idea of how the world works, and number 4 would be having experiences with other people. This, I imagine, would be when you would be married off. Back in the day, arranged marriage. Today, it's when people, like I say, would experience it later, years of high school or university, or some people call it college. Where they kind of join the group, join the gang, and do all that stuff. Now, this would be damaged by if you have some kind of sexual trauma, if you have friendship trauma, relationship trauma. It's probably gonna fuck it up a little. Number 5, both Leary and Wilson called it the neurosomatic circuit. Alright, so this is feelings of high and bliss, and is activated when good feelings arise. This has a beneficial effect on the health and the physical body. They call it the consciousness of the body. Okay, interesting. So I'm trying to get an idea of what this really is. So this apparently relates a lot to hedonism. It's affected by cannabis, hatha yoga, tantra, and Zen meditation. Apparently edging, if anyone knows what edging is, basically masturbation or sex without ejaculating, you prolong it. That activates a circuit, supposedly. Right, so it kind of appears with the development of a leisure class of cultures. So essentially this activates if you think of the fourth one more relating to the tribe and the family, maybe the family, I'm not quite sure, and the connection of people. This arrives after. This is kind of once you got all that shit sorted out, and you're a little more, you can, like, listening to the radio would have been a leisurely experience. Watching TV, just sitting around, just kind of, you've satisfied a lot of things. Alright, number 6, Leary called it the neuroelectric circuit. Wilson called it the meta-programming circuit. Let's see. Apparently this circuit re-imprints and reprograms all the earlier ones with relativity of reality's perception. So this is when people start talking about, reality's all in your mind, it's all perception, man, which it isn't true. A little bit of it is, so to speak, but this is more, I would see this as like the mind, the third eye chakra. Apparently this circuit enables telepathic communication, Leary said. I hope you're not hearing the outside noises, they're very loud. Is activated by low to moderate doses of LSD. Okay, peyote, psilocybin, meditating, chanting. Yes, this is much more shamanic. This is a shamanic circuit. This is when you're able to meditate enough that you can sit down and think and start to think, why am I doing these things? That's what happens in a bad trip. You're like, why did I do that? Why did they do that? Why did this happen? You start to contemplate, you start to be like, no, this isn't right, I've been lying to myself, whatever. Now, you don't need drugs to do that. You can just sit in meditation every day and bring up things. You can do it that way as well. It's a lot better to do it that way, I recommend. Number 7 is Leary, the neurogenic circuit, and number 7 for Wilson is the morphogenic circuit. This circuit is the connection of the individual's mind to the whole sweep of evolution and life as a whole. It is a part of consciousness that echoes the experience of the previous generation that have brought the individual brain-mind to present level. Interesting, so it's very ancestral. This, I guess, would be where your ancestral genetics and memories and all that stuff. Past lives, reincarnation, immortality, universal unconscious. This is kind of that crystal ball or water bowl in the mind, which you can activate through high levels of meditation. Apparently it's activated by higher doses of LSD, peyote, psilocybin, yoga, and meditation, yes. So if you've ever kind of been up at that level, you've ever had it, not because if you ever take things like LSD mushrooms, there's a lower level of highness and there's a higher level, and this is also a low microdose. This is more the high level. Then number 8, the Leary called it the neuroatomic metaphysical, metaphysiological, and Wilson the non-local quantum circuit. 8th circuit is relating to quantum consciousness, non-local awareness. Some ways it can get activated by Kundalini, shock, near-death experience, DMT, high dose of LSD, and almost any dose of ketamine. Interesting. Okay. You can also do it through, I've done it through Kundalini. You can get it happening through a dream, actually, through crazy meditation. It's a bit hard to activate this one, but you can. Yes. Okay. So basically that's like the when you are sitting with God, but you are also God. That's kind of that one. Very interesting. I haven't gone through this in quite a while. So anyway, then onto the chakra model. So as I said, number 3 would be ego. Number 1 is like complete satisfying of safety. And in this day and age, that basically means finding some fucking money. If you wanna eat, you need money. You wanna sleep in a house, you need money. Everything relies on money. It fucking sucks, but it is. Well, it actually doesn't suck. I like the idea of trading things and earning money. It's more just that we get taxed like a ridiculous amount on literally everything. So there's a giant ass parasite that's inflating the currency and chomping it all up, which makes it suck. So the system inherently does it. Well, I should say actually, but basically that's why it sucks. But going on, number 4, the heart chakra would be relating to community, marriage, maybe when you start to have children, probably that as well. So essentially, you need to satisfy your money. You need to satisfy having an actual house and having food, because otherwise, you're just not going to be physically safe enough and happy enough and fit enough and all that to have children or have a relationship and all that. Similarly, you need to satisfy your love, your pleasure of life, your joy. Because if you don't satisfy the joy and pleasure, you're not going to get to the ego level, which is kind of activating yourself, your who you are in the world. If you're trying to make a friend or a partner or whatever, and you don't know who you aren't anyone, it's going to be a little bit hard. Next level would be throat chakra. This is about once you've kind of had your family, you've got your community, you start to teach, write books, and pass on what you know. That's how I believe it would be. Or you start to communicate, you make a radio show, you make a podcast, etc., etc. You see this a lot. People they get big, they blow up, they do their thing. They have a family, they have a lot of security, and then they just go to the podcasting route. Then they just go to the talking route, and they don't do the cool shit they did before, which makes them get a little bit rusty. Anyway, after that is the third eye. This would be related to dreams and fantasy and imaginations, etc. So after that, people kind of get to the point where they start to have a dream for reality. They start to think, wow, what if I did this? What if I changed my house up like this? What if I made an orchid? What if I bought all this land and did this? What if I started to shop here? They start to dream and wonder a little more and start to change reality. Instead of them forcing themselves to live in a reality which others created, which is kind of shitty, they start to project onto it. Then the last one is more about rulership and kingship. This is a crown chakra relating to, I believe, Saturn, the icy peak. This is when people start to get into politics and start to get into religion to some extent, and this really is, they start to become, you just get a sense of the person. They're different from others. They are on the peak of the mountain. This is a CEO. This is the president. This is the leader of something. They become a leader. They become somehow the leader of the family. Maybe they are fundamentally above others, and you notice it. They are on another level. So anyway, I hope that was interesting, and if you want to make comments down below, feel free, or you want to email me. My email's down below. I've got my social media stuff down below. And if you want to buy books or services or music or anything else, I've got that all down below. I recommend check out Gumroad. That's where you'll find most of my products. So anyway, with that, have a nice day and goodbye.